I was reborn on the day when my sister and I were choosing our husbands, and I found that I could hear other people's inner thoughts. I heard my sister say, "This time, I must snatch a good husband in advance." Then she hurriedly pulled away the gentle husband I had married in my previous life. And the domestic abuser who beat her every day in my last life was left for me. I smiled. Did she think that the man I had married before had a good character? I was reborn on the day when my sister and I were choosing our husbands. Two men of similar age were sitting across the dining table. One was Grant, the eldest son of the Grant family, with a cold personality. The other was Jude, the younger son of the Grant family, but he was an illegitimate child and had a gentle temperament. This time, I must snatch a good husband in advance. A female voice came into my ears. It was my sister's voice. I looked at her, but she didn't speak. Her eyes were just staring straight at Jude. "I must take you away in a while." Her voice came out again. Only then did I realize that not only had I been reborn, but I could also hear other people's inner thoughts. And from these two sentences of my sister's, it seemed that she had also been reborn. Otherwise, she couldn't have said such things. Sure enough, the next second, she walked over and sat beside Jude, looking at him shyly. "Hello, my name is Ivy. I like you." Suddenly, my father beside me said, "Adira, since your sister has already chosen Jude, then you can marry Grant." As soon as these words were spoken, there was smugness in my sister's eyes. She said in her heart, "In this life, you can take the beatings for me." In my previous life, my sister married Grant. Grant was very capable in business and was busy with work all day long. Moreover, it was said that he was frigid. My sister tried to have sex with him several times, but each time she was driven out of the room with a bruised face. Finally, because she hadn't become pregnant, she was judged by old Mrs. Matilda to have something wrong with her body and was driven out of the Grant family. And Jude, whom I married, although he didn't have much power in the Grant family, was enough to let me have enough food and clothing. He accompanied me every day, went shopping, had meals and dates with me, and doted on me to the core. Everyone in the Grant family knew that we had a very good relationship. And later, Grant suddenly died of poisoning, and Jude inherited the family company. My status in the Grant family soared instantly. My sister was jealous of me. When I went out shopping, she drove into me, trying to die with me. "Okay, Dad. I happen to like Grant too." I replied with a smile and walked over to sit beside Grant. I have to say that this man's aura was really powerful. When I sat beside him, I just felt a chill surrounding me, making me dare not speak. No wonder my sister was beaten so badly by him in my previous life. I tried to hear his inner thoughts, but he didn't say a word in his heart. However, when Jude smiled and looked at my sister, I heard him say something. "What a beautiful little darling." Hearing these words, I shuddered all over. Subconsciously, I took Grant's hand. Although he had a cold personality, his hand was quite warm. Because of my action, he glanced over. I quickly let go of his hand, and only then did he remain silent. Although this man looked quite intimidating, but I thought that following him was better than following that viper Jude. In this life, I must change my originally tragic life. I want to make a lot of money, be independent and rely on no one. My sister and I held our weddings together. We also held them at this time in my previous life. At that time, Grant didn't come to the wedding on that day. Instead, Jude came early in the morning. Everyone said that he was a more considerate husband. Sure enough, it was the same in this life. Jude was wearing a white suit and hurriedly came up to carry my sister away. When passing by me, my sister looked at me smugly. "Sister, why didn't Grant come to pick you up?" I just smiled. "Don't bother yourself about it, sister. Just take care of yourself." Her face sank because of my words. "Laugh. I'll see if you can still laugh when you get beaten later." After saying this in her heart, she went downstairs with Jude. But it was too early to say these things. Who would have the last laugh was still uncertain. Grant's absence from the wedding made my sister and I, just like in my previous life, receive a lot of comments and strange looks at the wedding. My sister was even happier and couldn't wait to say to Jude, "I love you, Jude." Then she kissed him on the lips. After the kiss, she stared at me with her mouth full of saliva stains. I knew that she wanted to see me embarrassed. But I'm not stupid. I won't be as angry as she was in my previous life and leave directly. That would give people present and the Grant family something to gossip about. I remembered that at that time, people said that my sister was not steady and didn't deserve to be the eldest daughter-in-law of the Grant family. As a result, after marriage, old Mrs. Matilda never gave her a good look and made her suffer a lot in the Grant family. I took the microphone and smiled generously at the people in the audience. Today Grant has a very important business deal to negotiate. Later, when it comes to toasting, I'll do it on behalf of Grant. I hope you won't mind. As soon as these words were spoken, the people in the audience stopped talking. Old Mrs. Matilda, who was sitting in the main seat, looked at me with new eyes. The Grant family was wealthy and powerful and cared most about face and others' opinions. So at times like this, as a daughter-in-law, one should not panic and must show the demeanor of a hostess. My sister also saw the look in old Mrs. Matilda's eyes and a flash of anger appeared in her eyes. Damn it, I must make you look bad when it's time to serve tea. Actually, I think it's really a good thing that I can hear people's inner thoughts. Having an extra, golden finger, a special advantage or ability, makes everything much more convenient. When it came to the tea serving part, I calmly lifted my skirt and walked towards old Mrs. Matilda. My sister had been staring at me closely and was silently counting in her heart, 1, 2, 3. The next second, I directly sidestepped to get the tea. And my sister fell hard on the ground, and the tea splashed all over her, soaking her completely. "Are you okay?" Jude hurriedly went to help her up, but in his heart, he was scolding, "What a fool." Everyone was looking this way. Old Mrs. Matilda was full of anger. "So clumsy. Do you still look like the second daughter-in-law of the Grant family at all?" "Yes. I'm sorry, Mom. I didn't mean it." My sister quickly apologized, but there was unwillingness in her eyes. If I were her, I wouldn't make trouble in this life and would just live a peaceful life. But since she doesn't want me to have an easy life, I naturally won't swallow my anger. Because of my sister's embarrassing situation, the wedding ended hastily. From beginning to end, old Mrs. Matilda didn't give her a kind look. But when she looked at me, there was gratification in her eyes. She also took my hand and said, "Adira, I'll make sure Grant comes back to accompany you tonight to make it up to you." Sure enough, Grant really came back that night. He opened the door and was untying his tie with exhaustion all over his face. I quickly went over to take his coat. "Grant, are you tired today?" He just glanced at me and didn't respond to me. In my previous life, I heard from the servants that Grant didn't come back on the wedding night. My sister waited alone in the bridal chamber and became a laughingstock for everyone. She went to complain to old Mrs. Matilda but instead got a scolding, saying that she was incompetent and couldn't win a man's heart. When Grant was taking a bath, I made the bed for him and brewed tea. Then I tidied up the sofa myself and prepared to sleep there alone. Every night, I studied by lamplight, constantly adjusting the feed and breeding environment of the little black piglets according by what was written in the books. "Adira, are you playing hard to get?" He narrowed his eyes slightly and stared at me. Because he was wearing a bathrobe, his chest was slightly exposed and there were still some water droplets on it. I have to say that he really had a good figure. I quickly looked away. No, we didn't have feelings for each other before. Sleeping together would be embarrassing for both of us. If possible, I want to cooperate with you. What do you mean? After all, our marriage is just a business alliance. Many couples in such situations live their own lives privately and just pretend in public. I married you just because I want to live a worry-free life. I don't expect love. Hearing my words, he suddenly smiled with a curl of his lips. "You're very smart." Coincidentally, I also want it this way. I can agree to you. I'm just an ordinary person and don't have the great ability and certainty to win a man's heart. After all, in the Grant family, his attitude towards me depends on old Mrs. Matilda's attitude towards me. I don't want to be targeted by everyone like my sister in my previous life. That wouldn't do me any good. Moreover, he was a domestic abuser to my sister in my previous life. I don't want to provoke him and then get beaten either, so I choose to live in peace with him. In this life, I just want to use the money to start my own company and then achieve great success on my own. I asked Grant to post a photo of our fingers intertwined on Moments, WeChat Moments, and accompanied it with the caption, "Happy Wedding." The reason was to make everyone think that there was no problem with our relationship. Besides, I also found that his moments were very clean. Besides this Moments post, he had never posted anything else. A person like him must lead a very boring life every day. When it was time to sleep, he really slept on the big bed and let me sleep on the sofa alone. He really doesn't know how to be gentle with a lady. Well, I should be content. I was woken up by Grant early the next morning. He was still doing push-ups while listening to music to exercise early in the morning. It's said that men who are frigid are all weaklings. But his 8-pack abs and muscular calves looked so powerful. His figure was much better than Jude's. Stop looking. I'm not interested in you. He suddenly spoke and got up from the floor. Get dressed and come with me for breakfast. The subconscious implication was telling me that in this way, everyone would think that our relationship was good. Actually, I think he's quite easy to talk to. Why did he beat my sister in my previous life? After getting myself ready, I went out with Grant. As soon as we went out, I saw my sister and Jude walking over with their fingers intertwined. My sister was wearing a strapless dress, and there were hickey marks on her collarbone and shoulders. She deliberately came closer to show them to me. She was full of pride and looked me up and down from head to toe. Dressed so conservatively, she must have been beaten and is deliberately covering the wounds. She said in her heart and then smiled smugly. Sister, how was your wedding night? I was wearing a proper long-sleeved cheongsam today. My sister seemed to have forgotten that old Mrs. Matilda hated vulgar outfits appearing in the Grant family the most. And makeup couldn't be too heavy either, but I didn't want to remind her. I just smiled. Sister, according to seniority in the Grant family, you should address me as sister-in-law, not sister. Her face suddenly looked a bit ugly, and she gritted her teeth unhappily. Grant hasn't said anything about this way of addressing. Why are you asking me to do so? Then she looked at Grant. Grant, say something. I could feel that Grant beside me was gradually getting colder in his aura. Jude cursed in his heart, damn fool. I'll teach you a lesson tonight. Then he pulled my sister's hand, signaling her to stop talking. But she still didn't realize the seriousness of the matter. Jude, what's the first family rule of the Grant family? Grant said softly. Jude quickly lowered his head. Sorry, brother. I'll teach her a lesson right away. The next second, with a slap, he slapped my sister across the face. Quickly say hello to your brother and sister-in-law. My sister's face turned red from the slap, and she was so angry that she was almost bursting with rage. But she knew that Grant was not someone to be trifled with, so she could only say grudgingly, "Good morning, brother and sister-in-law." After saying that, she was pulled away by Jude. Because I remembered that the first family rule of the Grant family was, no one was allowed to be disrespectful to the heir and the heir's wife, and they couldn't address them by their first names directly. Those who violated it would be whipped 30 times. And Grant was the heir of the Grant family. I remembered that in my previous life, in order to survive, I memorized all the family rules. At that time, after my sister married Grant, she bullied me everywhere. It was precisely because I remembered this family rule that I didn't dare to be disrespectful to her. I thought my sister knew the family rules, but I didn't expect that she hadn't remembered them at all. So she thought that she could still bully me in this life. After arriving at the dining room, my sister had already received her punishment. Her face was pale, and she lowered her head, not daring to make trouble for the time being. I clearly noticed that under the dining table, Jude had been pricking her hand with a needle. The bitch. It's all because of you that I'm in a bad mood. He cursed loudly in his heart, and the strength in his hand gradually increased. In my previous life, not long after I married him, he began to abuse me and didn't allow me to tell others. I couldn't escape even if I wanted to, so I suffered a lot. So I would rather follow Grant than him. Sister, you chose your husband yourself in this life. You can't blame me. Old Mrs. Matilda arrived, and we all stood up to greet her. She leaned on her cane, just as she was about to ask us all to sit down, her eyes fixed on my sister. My sister hadn't changed her clothes and was still wearing that strapless dress. Sensing the old lady's gaze, she immediately forced a smile, looking very embarrassed. Mom, it was all Jude's doing. He said he wanted me to have a baby. As soon as these words were spoken, the old lady immediately flew into a rage and hit her on the back with her cane. Shameless. Your intimacy as a couple is your own business. You're not allowed to talk about it outside, and you're even less allowed to dress so revealingly. It's embarrassing. In my previous life, a servant was fired by old Mrs. Matilda just because she wore a pair of shorts. So I had been very careful since then. It was precisely because I lived carefully that I managed to survive in the Grant family with great difficulty. So my sister thought that I lived a good life just because I married a good man. But her thinking was wrong. Why did a good life have to rely on others? Mom, I'm sorry. I didn't know. My sister was sweating from the pain of being hit. Jude also quickly helped to explain. Mom, it's all my fault. I forgot to remind her. Although he said so on the surface, he was extremely smug in his heart. Serves you right. I'm so happy to see you being beaten. TSK, what a pervert. After all, we were newly married daughters-in-law, so old Mrs. Matilda didn't want to say much more and sat down to let everyone have dinner. Grant didn't say a word throughout the meal and even served me food while we were eating. I could feel my sister's angry gaze, as if she wanted to tear me to pieces. I smiled even more happily. Thank you, honey. Old Mrs. Matilda smiled at me with satisfaction. Adira, after dinner, you go to the company with Grant to learn something. As the eldest daughter-in-law of the Grant family, you still need to learn about some company affairs. I knew that old Mrs. Matilda would say this, because in my previous life, she also said this to my sister at the dining table, but my sister said, I don't want to learn. I can just rely on Grant for my whole life. She pushed away such a good opportunity herself. As a result, when she was driven out of the house, she was penniless. Okay, Mom. I replied to the old lady. Grant took me to the company. In the car, I had been trying to hear his inner thoughts, but there was nothing. Well, a man like him wouldn't be held back by anything and wouldn't be bothered. After arriving at the company, Grant took me to his office. Wait here for me. After leaving these words, he went out. Through the glass door, I saw him hurry to the meeting room. I was curious and followed him. I saw that he was communicating with an Englishman in the meeting room. They were discussing selling the product formula he had developed to Grant. Fortunately, I had already inquired about it before coming. The Grant family is rich. This product formula is only worth a few hundred yuan. This time, I must rip off the Grant family severely. I heard the Englishman's inner thoughts. I looked at him in surprise. His face was as calm as an old dog's, and it was impossible to tell that he had such a devious plan in his heart. He quoted a high price of 3 million yuan. Grant hesitated and didn't respond to him all the time. He seized the opportunity and said again, General Manager Grant, my product can definitely bring you a value exceeding 3 million yuan. Just when Grant was about to agree, I pushed the door open and entered. I said, hello, to the Englishman in English, then I took the bottle of skin care essence he had developed and looked at it. I'm a woman, and I know more about skin care products. There are only whitening ingredients in this. It can't resist wrinkles or prevent early aging. And you're an engineer. You should know better than me that whitening is just a gimmick, and its whitening effect is minimal. So I want to ask, why is your formula worth 3 million yuan? The Englishman was stunned immediately. Grant looked at me with great interest and didn't interrupt me. I knew that he allowed me to talk to him like this. So I was even bolder and said, however, this is a foreign product, and you've done publicity on social platforms, making the public very familiar with and trusting your product. So, I can offer you this amount. I showed him one with my fingers. 1 million? The man asked in surprise, Jack, 1 million is already quite good. Think about it. Grant stared at him closely and said, "No, no, no." I interrupted him. "I'll give you 10,000. It was just something worth a few hundred yuan. Giving 10,000 was already my bottom line." As soon as these words were spoken, the Englishman was so surprised that he stood up directly and said in broken Chinese, "Miss, who are you? How can you quote like this? How can I do business like this? Fine, I won't cooperate then. It's not like you're the only option for me to sell it to." With that, he was about to leave. "Jack, I'll give you 1 million. Sign the contract right away, and then I need you to apologize to my wife." Hearing this, Jack immediately turned around, with joy in his eyes. I didn't understand Grant's approach and quickly wanted to stop him, but he shook his head at me, signaling me not to speak, so I could only stop. "General Manager Grant, you're really good at doing business." Jack laughed and then said sorry to me. "Sorry, I didn't know you were General Manager Grant's wife." Then Grant took him to sign the contract. After signing the contract, I asked him, quite puzzled, "That thing is only worth a few hundred yuan. Why did you offer 1 million? Grant poured a cup of coffee and said slowly, "You have a good business mind, but you still don't understand the market. Jack's formula itself isn't valuable. I've known that for a long time. What I'm interested in is the brand he created. Although the brand awareness isn't very high now, fortunately, all young women already know about it. As long as I do a little more publicity, I can earn back 1 million. Suddenly, I saw the light. So that's how it was. That's why Jack was so confident. It was really right to come here. I could learn something. However, I'd like to know how you knew it was only worth a few hundred yuan. Grant stared at me closely. I smiled awkwardly. I guessed. He didn't ask further. Taking this opportunity, I asked him to let me manage a branch company. In my previous life, because Jude had no status in the Grant family, he couldn't give me anything. I really wanted to do business by myself and be my own boss. Then I wouldn't have to ask anyone for help. I could just rely on myself. After earning enough money, I could leave. You're quite ambitious. Don't tell me you're thinking of getting the company, making money, and then running away." He looked at me as if he could see right through me. Damn it. How could he be better at reading people's minds than I was? For the first time, I felt inferior. I was someone with a special ability, a golden finger, but I couldn't compare to him. It seemed that this was a natural talent. Of course not. I just want something to do. He took a sip of coffee. "All right, but you have to learn from me before you can go." In the following days, I went to the company with Grant to learn. I learned a lot about worldly wisdom and business skills. One day, he actually took the initiative to take me to dinner. It was at the most luxurious Western restaurant. Unexpectedly, we ran into my sister and Jude there. My sister was cutting steak for him. When she saw me and Grant, she quickly put down the knife and fork and looked at me in surprise. "Sister, you're here too." Realizing that she had made a mistake in addressing me, she quickly corrected herself. "Brother and sister-in-law, you're also here for dinner." The next second, her inner voice came again. Damn it. What bad luck. Running into her at a time like this. I mustn't lose face. "Yes, I'm here for dinner with Grant." I took the initiative to hold Grant's arm, and he didn't refuse. Jude also quickly came forward to greet us. Brother and sister-in-law. Grant ignored them and directly pulled me to sit down. I saw that my sister was so angry behind us that she gritted her teeth. She must be very confused as to why Grant didn't beat me and even took the initiative to bring me to dinner. When I went to the toilet, she was waiting for me at the door. When she saw me, she looked as if she wanted to swallow me up. That look in her eyes was exactly the same as when she drove into me in my previous life. "You must have been beaten terribly by Grant in private. Stop pretending. You make me sick." Hearing her words, I smiled slightly and pretended to accidentally see the needle marks on her arm. "Oh, sister, what's wrong with you? Why are there so many needle marks?" A hint of panic flashed in her eyes. She quickly covered her arm and glared at me viciously. "It's none of your business. It's just a little fun between Jude and me. But it's normal that you don't know. After all, Grant surely hasn't touched you until now. Unlike Jude, he wants me all night long." I'm so tired. Haha, she was clearly not having a good life, but she still tried to put on a brave face. I really wanted to know how long she could keep being so stubborn. That's nice. I wish you and him more and more happiness. After saying this, I wanted to leave, but she grabbed my hair. Bitch, are you mocking me? I frowned. She was still as crazy as in my previous life. I struggled and asked her to let me go. At this time, Grant suddenly came in and kicked her away. Being disrespectful to your sister-in-law, do you know what the punishment is? Grant held me and looked down at her. I remembered that she would be locked in the dungeon. I had been sent there by my sister once before. There were countless rats, cockroaches, and snakes in there. So she knew very well what her punishment was. My sister was so scared that her face turned pale. Brother, I didn't mean it. Don't do this to me. But Grant wouldn't soften his heart. Once he made a decision, he would never change it because of anyone. He asked Jude to take my sister away. Jude cursed in his heart, it would be best if she died in there. She's always causing trouble. Grant took me back to the bedroom and checked my head. Are you okay? I'm fine. She just pulled my hair a little. I pushed him away and tidied up my clothes and hair by myself. But why did you suddenly come to the toilet? I looked at Grant's pitch-black eyes. I saw that you hadn't come back. I also want to ask you why you had a conflict with her again. I thought about it. I couldn't tell him that it was because my sister had been reborn and deliberately targeted me. So I told him, sister said that she's very happy having sex with Jude every day, unlike you who hasn't touched me at all, so we had a conflict. Hearing this, Grant's eyes flickered. So, are you hinting at me? I immediately realized that my words had made him misunderstand and quickly waved my hands. No, no, no. That's not what I meant. I just told you why there was a conflict. Adira, have you ever thought about doing that kind of thing with me? He stared at me closely. Of course not. I immediately replied, I've said that I just want to rely on you to live a worry-free life for the rest of my life. Is that all? I nodded vigorously. He didn't say anything more and suddenly slammed the door and left. I didn't know which of my words had made him unhappy. I didn't want to know either. I just wanted to achieve what I wanted. The next day, Grant didn't take me to the company. He asked me to go to the branch company by myself. So I began to focus on managing the branch company. I planned to stop when I earned $10 million. I ran projects and negotiated cooperation every day, bringing a lot of profits to the company. Old Mrs. Matilda asked me to take my own remuneration from it. When I was enjoying making money, my sister came out of the dungeon. That day I happened to be coming home from work. I saw that she had lost a lot of weight, but she still put on elaborate makeup and wore nice clothes. She walked towards me arm in arm with Jude. Sister-in-law, I've already applied to Mom to learn the company's business from you and help you share some of the pressure, Jude thought in his heart. Soon I'll make you and Grant die together. Suddenly I remembered that Grant had died suddenly in my previous life. So it was him who caused it, and in this life he not only wanted to harm Grant but also wanted to harm me. I tried hard to control my fluctuating emotions and looked at my sister in front of me. Okay, you can come tomorrow. I said that on purpose because I wanted to know what kind of devious plan she had. The next second her inner voice said, what a fool. Just wait. I'll kill you all soon and live a carefree life by myself. It turned out that after spending a few days in the dungeon she had come to her senses, however she didn't know that I could hear other people's inner thoughts. How could she possibly kill me then? In my previous life Grant died of poisoning. Suddenly I remembered that at that time in the basement of Jude's room I saw a cabinet full of colorful potions. He often used those potions to conduct experiments on me back then. Sometimes I would faint and sometimes I would be abnormally excited. Now that I think about it, those should have been the potions for making poison. I took my sister to the company and asked her to start as an intern. Now she knew how to control her emotions. She agreed to whatever I said and asked her to do. I knew the reason why she had become like this was that she was plotting a murder plan. Jude wanted me and Grant to die. And she wanted me, Grant, and Jude to die. However, just based on the fact that she wanted to kill Jude I could make use of it. Soon I took action. I went to find Jude behind Grant's back. That I knew Jude very well. He liked obedient women, so I was able to stay by his side for so long before. I deliberately wore a sexy uniform and looked at him. Jude, I like you. He immediately became interested. Sister-in-law, aren't you afraid that my brother will kill you? I've always wanted to be with you. I bit my lip, pretending to be shy. Also, I want to tell you something. My sister is going to poison you. Yesterday at the company, I heard her talking to a man with my own ears. As soon as these words were spoken, Jude's face was immediately filled with anger. Is it true? Of course it's true. She said that you've always beaten her, so she wants to kill you. She said she wants to achieve great success. Fortunately, I had the memories from before, so I could completely manipulate them. Hearing what I said, Jude completely believed me. Because no one knew about his perverted deeds except him and my sister. He said, just watch me teach this woman a lesson. Sister-in-law, wait for me. When I kill Grant and her, you'll be my wife, and I'll take care of you. After saying that he left. Haha, did he really think I was stupid? I would never follow him. I immediately went to find Grant. Although his life and death didn't have much to do with me, in this life after all he had helped me make money and he had also shared workplace experience with me so carefully. In the office, he was a bit surprised when he heard what I said. What evidence do you have to prove that Jude wants to harm me? I took out a voice recorder and played the conversation I had just had with Jude. The first part was when I deliberately flirted with him. It was so cheesy that I felt embarrassed just listening to it. I quickly explained, I pretended to gain his trust. Grant didn't respond to me, but his face darkened a bit. I shut my mouth dejectedly. The next second he pulled me into his arms. The fragrance of pine wood rushed towards me and I heard his heart beating loudly. I was completely at a loss. He stared at me closely. Adira, I advise you not to have the idea of betraying me. As long as you're still my wife, you should be loyal to me. This silly guy, why did he focus on this aspect? Never mind that for now. The key is that now your brother wants to harm you. What's your idea? Let's see if he has the ability. If he can't kill me, then he'll be the one who dies. Grant didn't seem to take this matter to heart. He even took me to a dinner party in the evening. He said it was beneficial to the development of the branch company and that we could meet many clients. When I followed him in, I could feel many eyes looking me up and down. They were all unfriendly looks. No man is a good guy. I should have known better than to bring her here. Grant's inner voice suddenly appeared. I looked at his side face in surprise. He had no expression on his face, yet he could say such things in his heart. And what did that mean? He noticed my gaze and looked down at me. What's wrong? After saying that, he said in his heart again, such a silly thing. I was even more shocked. The cold and domineering president in my impression, how could he also say such things? I tried hard to control my fluctuating emotions and shook my head, saying nothing was wrong. After the dinner party ended, Grant took me home. Jude and my sister were waiting for us in the living room. My sister took the initiative to invite us to have dinner. Jude stared closely at my chest and then also smiled and said, "Brother, sister-in-law, today Ivy and I went to buy some delicious dishes. Let's have dinner together." Damn it. How could his intention be so obvious? I really wanted to know how Grant in my previous life was poisoned by such clumsy means. Looking at the big table full of delicious food, I really didn't dare to take a bite. Under the dining table, I held Grant's hand, signaling him not to eat either, but the next second he picked up the food and ate it. It was so fast that I didn't even react. And he also said, "It's quite delicious. Let's all eat." As soon as these words were spoken, a hint of joy flashed in the eyes of my sister and Jude. I was so worried that I kept pinching Grant's hand, but he didn't move at all. I had clearly told him that they would harm him. Why did he still eat? Just as this thought came to me, Grant and my sister fell on the table together. Old Mrs. Matilda also came out and she angrily shouted, "Come here. Send these two beasts to the dungeon and never let them out for the rest of their lives." Adira, I'm not as stupid as you think. Grant turned to look at me. I had already told my mother to install surveillance cameras all over the house. When I found out that Jude had poisoned the wine, I had their poisoned wine removed and replaced their wine with sleeping pills. At this time, his voice suddenly became quieter, but it seems that you were very afraid that I would die. Could it be that you've fallen in love with me? For some reason, when he said this, my heart was beating very fast. I haven't. I'm just afraid that if you die, there will be no one left for me to rely on. He smiled brightly. Is that so? After my sister and Jude were locked in the dungeon, I breathed a sigh of relief. These two people I feared the most were finally gotten rid of. Now that I had earned enough money, the next step was to ask Grant for a divorce. I had been looking for an opportunity, but Grant had been so busy during this period that he seldom came back. I could only wait for the right moment. On this day, I heard from the servants that Jude and my sister had been asking to see me all the time. I went to see my sister first. Her hair was messy and she looked rather haggard with unwillingness in her eyes. How could you know that I was going to kill you all? Why did you know? The next second, she suddenly realized something. I got it. You've also been reborn, right? I looked at her with a smile. Sister, did you just figure it out now? Hearing this, she was so angry that she rushed to me, grabbing the cell door as if she wanted to kill me. Bitch, you're such a good actress. You always knew that Jude was a pervert, right? So you just watched me jump into the abyss. Adira, how could you be so vicious? It's not me who's vicious. It's you. I stared at her closely. This face was somewhat similar to mine. She was my own sister, but in my previous life she killed me with her own hands. In this life, if I hadn't been able to hear people's inner thoughts, I would probably have died too. Jude was the one you chose, and Grant was also chosen by you. No matter which one you chose, you weren't satisfied, so you blamed me, but you never thought about your own problems. You wanted to rely on men, while I just wanted to rely on myself. That's the difference, but why? You could live well with anyone you were with. My sister roared. You thought I was living well, but actually, I had been working hard to save myself behind the scenes. So I deserve what I have now. And you didn't put in any effort and always expected others to save you. So you deserve to be like this now. After saying that, I left. My sister roared unwillingly behind me. Just wait. Next time, I definitely won't lose to you. When I came to Jude's cell, he was concentrating on folding the quilt. He was still as obsessive-compulsive as before. Seeing me, he laughed. Adira, you're so smart and good at disguising yourself. Do you know? I really believed that you were going to follow me. I was even ready to kill Ivy and Grant, but you gave me such a big surprise. You deserve it. It's because you're so vicious. I glared at him fiercely. His face gradually overlapped with the face of him who tortured me in various ways in my previous life. The fire of anger in my heart burned even more fiercely. He walked towards me step by step and looked me up and down. If I hadn't been locked in here, I think your legs, your waist, your whole body would have been under me, and then I would inject you with a potion that would make you feel ecstatic. Ha ha ha. I couldn't bear to listen anymore. Jude, you'll definitely go to hell. After saying that, I ran away. Even after walking out of the dungeon, I was still panting, unable to forget Jude's perverted look just now. Fortunately, in this life, I finally got rid of him. In the evening, Grant came back. He was drunk. As soon as he entered the room, he threw himself at me, and we both fell to the ground at the same time. You're drunk. I'll make you some hangover soup. I tried hard to push him away, but he didn't move at all. Moreover, his hands were constantly unbuttoning his clothes, and his possessive eyes were staring at me closely. I immediately realized that he was sober. Grant, think clearly about what you're doing. We're just in a cooperative relationship. You're not allowed to touch me. He covered my mouth with one hand and whispered in my ear, anyway, you're my wife, and I will touch you. I pushed him away. No, I'm going to divorce you. You can't touch me. As soon as these words were spoken, the whole room became quiet. Grant's face darkened. I knew you were going to leave me. When he said this, he let go of me, looking a bit dejected. Ophelia stood there biting her lip, with a very unpleasant look on her face. I pushed his hand away, raised my eyebrows at him with a smile, and said, Are you referring to the picking lotus picture? At that time, there was a boy with long hair in school who wore a mask all day long. Everyone always laughed at him, saying that he was effeminate. And I stood up to protect him and took him to the back mountain of the school. You can't be so cowardly. You should protect yourself well. He slowly raised his head to look at me and took off his mask. Thank you. I just wanted to grow my hair long and donate it to my aunt. She had cancer. Only then did I see his face. I didn't expect that he was so handsome. I fell in love with him at first sight. From then on, I followed him and protected him every day. He told me that his name was Grant. Later, his aunt passed away, and he moved away. Over the years, I had been looking for you. It wasn't until the day when I could hear your inner thoughts that I realized that you were the person I had been looking for, because I could only hear your inner thoughts. I never revealed my identity to you, because I wanted you to come to me on your own initiative. I wanted to know if you still remembered me. I kept waiting until one day when I heard your inner thought. You said that once you saved up 10 million, you would leave me. I also knew that these days I had been avoiding you because I didn't want you to leave me. As he was speaking, his eyes turned red. I didn't expect that there could be such a coincidence in the world. He could also hear other people's inner thoughts? And I also found out that you could hear my inner thoughts, so I deliberately said those words in my heart to confirm it. I looked at him guiltily. Sorry, I didn't mean to take advantage of you. I was just afraid of being abandoned again, so I thought that once I saved up enough money, I would leave you. Do you still want to leave me now? I shook my head. Before, I wanted to leave him because I thought that he didn't love me and that I wouldn't be happy with him. It was better to rely on myself. But now I learned that he was Grant and that he had been waiting for me all along. So I wouldn't leave. I also suddenly understood why he had resisted my sister so much in my previous life. He knew that she wasn't me, so he wouldn't touch her. Thinking of this, I felt his warm lips kissing my face. He said softly, Adira, stay with me for a lifetime. My eyes became moist. Okay, we'll be together for a lifetime. Fortunately, God gave me the chance to be reborn, so that I didn't miss my beloved.